Thank you, John. Jason?
Well, being from Marine Lab, I usually work on the ocean, and so unfortunately the big issues surrounding our reefs and our fisheries are much of a more perilous issue for the future. With this buildup, there's going to be a lot more pressure on the fisheries and the coral reef. And there's going to be a lot more people consuming things and producing a lot of waste that seems to be going out on our reef. So a lot of land use practices and waste disposal practices are going to have to be looked at very carefully and very honestly during this period.
Thank you, Jason. Laura Lee.
Thank you, Dr. Peterson. I just want to say that Guam EPA is a medium-sized agency, and yes, our role is to protect the environment, but we do need a lot of help from a lot of people that are concerned on the environment, and that's why it's good when we hear other voices that are concerned and do make a cause to stand up, because it helps us to do our job being a regulatory agency. And so that's wait for questions and answers, but thank you for those who are concerned about our environment, what's going to happen in the future, and we need a lot of help too, but we need to do it together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Laura.
And I agree with everyone else. I'm also the director for Bureau of Statistics and Plans, but I also, under our office, we have the Coastal Zone Management Program. And I also chair the Natural Resource Subcommittee for the Civilian Military Task Force. So we look at a wide variety of issues and concerns that will obviously affect Guam's environment and natural resources. In working with the Navy and their planners, the natural resource agencies, which includes EPA and agriculture, and even Parks and Rec, HPO office for cultural and historic sites as well, fall under natural resources. So as we work to develop strategies, we also work very closely with the military in implementing their plan to identify critical habitat areas and areas that we felt were of concern. And we actually gave them, through our partnering meetings, which federal and local regulatory agencies participated in the last couple of years, we gave them a layout of their proposed construction sites and identified areas that we felt would be greatly impacted if they built on those areas. So the Navy planners use that as a template and have tried at best to build around those areas. And Roy Sitsui was there in those meetings, and the military has in fact taken a lot of those critical areas into place. So as we move forward, one of the things that we're also concerned, we talk about the northern aquifer, is the overconstruction that will take place in northern Guam. And we don't, when we talk about military buildup, we don't just talk about military construction. We also have to look at the holistic approach to include civilian buildup. We're seeing a lot of property being sold and bought in the northern area. There's going to be a lot of commercial interests, residential areas. And so with major development in those areas, you're going to see a lot of impervious surfaces that are going to be created as a result of this construction. And as a result of that, those impervious surfaces, you're going to see possibly the recharge of the aquifer being compromised. And these are the things that we need to look at is the overall effect and how that resource, the water aquifer, as we've been discussing, we need to realize that as we move forward, we need to look at the impacts as a result of the buildup, both on the civilian side and the military side. So as we move forward, I just got flashed 60 seconds, so I can answer other questions later on in the presentation.
Thank you very much, Tony. Yeah, our panel seems to be resting up for an onslaught of expected questions, But I thought that we'd take one more round with a question, very general again, but let's talk for a minute about sustainable policies, and if you were more comfortable with your particular area, good. What kind of sustainable or policies for sustainability should we or could we be promoting on Guam? And secondly, how can we build partnerships? How can we partner to accomplish those policies? You want to start at the other end?
Okay. Well, at the Bureau, what we've done is we've taken the initiative in certain areas, and we realize and understand the impacts that this buildup will bring. So in the last year, the Bureau of Statistics and Plans and our Coastal Zone Management Program actually worked on several documents. One, the Natural Resources Subcommittee has actually put together a strategic plan for 2012, and I'm happy to say that the military has taken this document and has actually used this as a template as they move forward in their planning. So we want to thank them for those efforts. And this was put together by our subcommittee, which involved members of the community, federal and local regulatory agencies. Another one that we've done, because we realize again the potential growth in the northern area, is we've also done the Northern and Central Land Use Plan. Again, we want to make sure that construction practices and development practices over the Northern Aquifer are strengthened, and that we're seeing a lot of applications at the Guam Land Use Commission and even in the legislature for rezoning of properties, and we need to make sure that we provide them the necessary tools and information as they deliberate rezoning of properties in the northern area, and also to strengthen development practices over the aquifer. The last document that we just completed, and we're going to have public hearings, is the Guam Compensatory Mitigation Policy. Presently, Guam doesn't have a Guam Compensatory Mitigation Policy, and this policy would be consistent with not just for military construction, but for civilian construction. The reality is our major concern with the Bureau is not specifically to what's going to be built on the military side, because they do follow NEPA regulations. It's what's going to be happening in small pockets of development within the local community. How do we now have the necessary capacity as regulatory agencies to ensure that local mandates and federal mandates are followed? So these are some of the things that we're working at the Bureau insofar as policy issues.
Before we, for Guam EPA, before we look also at sustainable policies overall in the holistic approach, we need to also start from the basics and back into our agency. What are we doing? What are our permits? What are our regulations where we have primacy that U.S. EPA has given us, and where we have a lot of, where we don't have primacy, which U.S. EPA still oversees for the island, and then also what are regulations that we have, which we have a lot of local mandates that don't require any fee or service that we do. And so within our agency for sustainable policy within, we do need to update some of our regulations and add the fees in, because a lot of times we do things, inspection, review, permits, it's very minimal or practically no cost to Guam EPA to do this service to the island community. So as far as sustainability inside our agency, it's hurting us. It's, yes, we're not a corporation, a private business where you need to make a profit. The government, as usual, will always